July meeting to order with a salute to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get started this evening, we should have a pretty quick meeting, but we do have a short presentation from GTEL. They wanted to come in tonight to discuss their new rollout of the new fiber coverage of the county and expansion, I believe. Mr. Shelton is here from GTEL. I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you very much.
If you want to step up and explain what's going on.
I got a big board with lots of little letters and numbers. So, realizing that not everybody is probably going to get an opportunity to take a look at this, one of the things, if you haven't heard, as part of the governor's broadband rollout across broadband for all over the state of New York, we were awarded census blocks or grant funding to come and overbuild, or not overbuild, but build areas with fiber in parts of Clermont. And so I just wanted to come in and, kind of explain to everyone that we will be starting construction later on this fall in areas that we do not have services already, fiber already out there. And if we do have some other older fiber connectivity, then chances are we're going to kind of rebuild some of that and bring it more to a more state-of-the-art type of network. So you probably have seen some Vantage Point cars, little Ford Escorts or that sort of thing with Vantage Point, and those are our stakers that have been out and checking out the poles and that sort of thing. And so we are pretty much wrapping up what we call the staking phase, and what that is going through and doing an inventory of all of, like I said, poles, homes, businesses, etc. And then that information is then put into a format where the build is then designed and engineered and that sort of thing. And so what I have on the map are specific dates as it relates to all of the towns that we're going to be building in, and I'll be doing these across the other towns as well. Clermont already had a significant amount of fiber already built, so it's going to be less impactful here, but there is going to be an impact. And so I wanted to not only provide a update, but also information, our local information. Of course, you can call the office, but I wanted to provide my information as well as an outlet to also be able to get other information. And that website is very simple. It's gtelfiber.net. And it's still kind of in the development stages. We, through the course of this week, are hoping to kind of get it to a point where it's going to be able to be more informational and that sort of thing, because the dates and that sort of thing that we have on the map are kind of hot off the press, if you will. But we're kind of holding off on providing some of the information that the questions and that sort of thing that we've been getting, because we weren't really ready to provide some dates associated with that, because that's kind of what everybody wants to know is when is this going to impact me. And so now we're kind of at that stage where later on this fall we're going to start construction across the whole area that we were awarded. So again, gtelfiber.com. First off, my name is Jason Shelton. I guess I should have led with that. But I'm the GM for GTEL. I've been here for over a year now. So very happy to be here. And I'll give you my number if you want. Don't hesitate to call and ask questions. My number is 518-537-1113. Pretty simple too. One of the things associated with a build like this, we're kind of on I was explaining to the gentleman back there a while ago, we're about to be extremely busy. And one of the great things about a project like this is the economic impact. And we've actually already added, a significant amount of jobs already, but it's going to have a significant, larger impact. And so I'd like to kind of throw out there that if anyone is interested in working for GTEL, we do have a careers link on our webpage, because obviously these types of networks, doesn't happen by flipping the switch, as a comedian once said, but anyway. So, but I'll take some questions.
A couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that the area that you've been awarded, is
Yes.
that over and above what your normal GTEL?
So basically what is yellow on here is a round one award, and the round one award for GTEL primarily consisted of just Germantown and Clermont. So it is going to overbuild the existing copper facilities. The copper facilities are, they're pretty much at their max capability of what they're going to be able to provide. And that's one of the reasons why we did put an application in to overbuild that with fiber optics.
Now, you've got fiber optics for TV in quite a bit of this already.
Yes, sir, we did.
I know that.
Yes, sir.
Had it a number of years ago.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And so is this going to be something in addition to that, or?
It's going to build in the areas that don't have fiber optics.
Okay.
So, and like I said, there could be some areas where we do, for example, if it's out of capacity, if there's no more room to hook any more of those customers up, even where there are fiber right now, or is fiber, then we'll be adding the additional capacity and that sort of thing. So we're building a next-gen network, a next-generation network. So
But going back to my original question, did you get a grant to do work in areas that are not your normal?
yes, sir, we did actually. There was census blocks that were awarded, not necessarily in Clermont, but in Livingston, and we were actually awarded census blocks in Gallatin and Taconic as well.
Okay.
So
So those are areas that you didn't have telephone or
Correct.
cable previously?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question I had, you mentioned Vantage Point. I've seen those trucks around here. What is their actual business?
So they do a lot of things. They're based out of Mitchell, South Dakota. Their primary focus, for what we use them for, is engineering and design. So they build fiber networks and that sort of thing for other companies across the United States. And they helped us actually go through and write our applications and that sort of thing. And they put together basically all the engineering plans. Little companies like ours who don't have large engineering staffs rely on companies like this in order to be able to do these types of projects.
But I saw something somewhere that led me to believe they were in real estate business. But
Well, no, sir, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't think that when I first saw the name Vantage.
They're not
I thought they were in cable, some kind of cable business.
I'm not sure. Like I said, they do stretch into a lot of different varieties, but I don't think they're in the real estate business in New York for sure. But there's another GTEL out there, and it's in Zimbabwe. So I promise it's not us. So
Give somebody else a chance.
Well, we, in the previous meeting that we had today, as a matter of fact, I actually, I'm sure you've heard from people on Turkey Hill Road without service. He was gonna actually take a look with this expansion to see if they could be included. And that would be one way to obviously take care of those customers that are in Claremont that don't have service right now, so.
Yeah, in fact, 4 years ago, when I was running for re-election, a couple of people out there that asked, and I had asked Bruce, and they were supposed to take another look to see if there was enough now with the fiber optic or some other things, if they could hook those people up, and I never got a real
This is
answer
the
to that.
opportunity.
this is the opportunity. This is definitely a once-in-a-lifetime scenario, and that's one of the reasons why we stepped outside of our normal serving territory and applied for census blocks outside of Germantown and Clermont. And I'm about 75% sure to say that the folks on Turkey Hill Road are definitely going to get taken care of. I reserve the last 25% just because it is engineering and it is design and there's human beings involved. So, but I'll know for sure within the next couple of weeks, absolutely, whether or not those folks are going to get taken care of as well.
Good.
So, pretty confident they will, though.
And one of the other common complaints or requests we've had is, faster internet speed, and that's something that you've also expressed that's going to be available.
Absolutely. So, again, old copper network, it's pretty well reached its max capabilities, especially if you have video associated with it. If you think of, there's actually a really cool video on the internet that another telco provided. If you think of a fiber circuit versus a copper circuit, think of it's ironic, the fire truck, think of a big water blast coming out of that. That would be fiber versus a regular water hose at your home. That would be the copper. So obviously, more pressure, more water. That, you know, a good analogy would be to use that. And so the internet speeds that we're attempting, or not attempting, that we're going to be able to provide are a gigabit to the home. When we started looking at doing this, we only wanted to do it once because I only believe in doing it right the first time. I can't say that's always happened, but needless to say, in this circumstance, I have a lot of help that's going to help me make sure we get it right the first time. Whenever people drive into our communities, I want them to be able to see that there's a seal that is a certified gig community by NTCA. And they're very difficult to be able to go through and attain. There's actually a chief engineer that has to sign off that network is ready and that sort of thing. And so, you know, those are the different other types of value adds towards communities and residents within them. That's one of the things that I look at whenever I go, and when I see stuff like that, you know, makes me feel good and that sort of thing. So.
Is that a symmetric gig up and down? Or?
Yes, it would be, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
that's
yeah.
excellent, because there's companies in the area like Frontier that'll give you maybe 12
Right.
megs down because it's DSL.
Right.
And they give you like a third of a megabyte up. It's like...
It defeats the
Yeah.
purpose. One great example last night in Germantown, of course, we had our fireworks show. We actually hooked up Wi-Fi. We had users that were connecting to the Wi-Fi last night. They downloaded over 10 gigs worth of data in 4 hours and uploaded just as much data back to the internet via Facebook Live videos, pictures, all of those sorts of things. So the upload speeds are just as critical these days, frankly, as download speeds. So
what's the timeline?
well, that would depend on where you live, believe it or not, because each one of these is kind of broken down by a section, and once construction starts, let me give you this timeline. All of the main distribution fiber has to be built by the end of 2018, which obviously is next year. So we're going to be pretty hot and heavy here pretty soon. So
for Clermont, the timeline?
well, again, there's already a significant amount of network that's already built, but the last cabinet, engineering-wise, that's scheduled to be completed, I'm going to say probably around the September 4th timeframe, but only because it's over here is kind of mixed in with Gallatin and that sort of thing too. And we had to be, we couldn't go through and just stake and engineer everything, because when we first started the project, we started round 1 before round 2 had even been awarded. And so when you're talking about resources and that sort of thing, you know, we had to be careful not to go into territories that we may not have been awarded. So, but usually there is some challenges with fiber, getting fiber. But I'm glad that we actually were able to get what's called a PO. We were able to get our place in line reserved for fiber. We're only using Corning fiber, which is here in New York. And so we got our place in line reserved, which means that we're going to kind of be ahead of some of the other companies that are going to be beating on the Corning doors as well. So
back to Turkey Hill for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Is that an area that you were awarded?
Yes, and well, it's kind of weird. If anybody is familiar with census blocks and knows how they were defined, please say, you know, you'll make a lot of money if you could figure that out, or know why they were done that way. Because they're very complicated, and no one seems to be able to understand how they decided to do certain census blocks the way that they did. But that one actually was not necessarily one that was up for auction, but the one next to it was. It's not a tremendous area for us to go ahead and just extend the fiber. So this afternoon I was on with Vantage Point and confirming some things, and like I said, I think it's going to look pretty good that we're going to be able to take care of those folks. On the other hand, it would stop at the county line because we don't have the rights and legal agreements to go south of Columbia County. So,
which is the town line as well, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Obviously.
yeah.
Yes, I know you said it was a 75% chance you're sure. I think the rest of the board would agree with me that we'd like to put a little pressure on you. Maybe you could
Sure.
get that up to 85%. Because we have over the years had a number of people, you know, from time to time ask about it. I'm sure you've heard it too, right?
Yeah, I expressed that.
Yeah. Listen, I'd never like to turn a customer away if I don't have to. And knowing that was a concern, that'll be something that will absolutely be going back and trying to find a way to make it work. I'm not really a no kind of person. I'm gonna, well, let's figure out another path and see if we can find a way to make it work. So it might only be 75% today because that's just the first time, you know, conversation wise and that sort of thing. But coming from where we were at 0, I'd say we got a pretty good shot at getting to 100. So.
Just one other thing, and I already discussed this with you a little bit, I just want to bring it up again. There's been several requests about, you know, why can't we get internet? Why do we have to have a phone line? Because a lot of people would like to drop their phone line, and you explained to me very clearly about the regulations. If you just want to go over that real quick.
Absolutely. So, of course, Germantown and, of course, really all of the independents across New York and across the country started out as telephone companies. Telephone companies are heavily regulated. They brought broadband in as a way to help try and grow and increase revenue and, frankly, keep their companies alive. And that's one of the reasons, the primary reason why we can't not sell broadband only service is because of the regulation associated with the internet, the telephone that we provide. So in some of the areas, you know, we have the ability to not, but those aren't necessarily within the Clermont area, unfortunately. But if there is an opportunity for us to be able to move away from doing that, then we'll absolutely look at doing it. But primarily because of regulation, that's kind of why we have to do it. So,
Because that's been brought to us quite a few times.
And it's definitely something over the past year that I've heard a lot about, but it's associated, frankly, to primarily starting out as a phone company and being governed by the PSC. So.
Well, it's
All right.
exciting times, obviously. Is this map available on your website?
Yeah, so
With the stickers with the time frames or no?
stickers with the time frames, that's something that we're actually working on hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay.
However, at the front office in Germantown, we do, at our office in GTEL office in Germantown, it's actually under the glass. So if folks do want to come in and take a look at where their specific location is, ultimately what's going to be available is when you go to the gtelfiber.net website, you will be able to type in your specific address and figure out what block that you're in, and then be able to sign up for auto alerts whenever, for example, it goes from a pre-construction to a construction phase. That way you don't, you know, we'll help you keep track of what's going on and that sort of thing. So that's still in the development stages as well. Hopefully by the end of this week. So.
And is all your fiber underground?
No. New York is very rocky, as you probably know. The majority of our fiber is going to be aerial.
Okay.
It's extremely expensive to build underground facilities.
Rock,
So,
I see what you're talking
yeah.
about.
So,
Okay.
great question though.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody else on board? No?
Well, thank you all. Happy Independence Day.
Thank you
And,
very much. We appreciate you coming in. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people excited about that gigabyte. I know
Yeah.
to you guys down there, it makes you get excited, I'm sure.
And if it makes sense for GTEL to come in and just have, you know, a 30-minute, 1-hour session one evening, maybe later part of this year, especially when we do start construction, you know, just let us know and we would be happy to do that. I'm sure y'all know Lynn. She likes coming and seeing people too, so we can come hang out for a little bit. So
Maybe we could set something up towards the fall, once things are start to. come
yeah,
together
once
and
once families are back in town from summer vacation and school starts and that sort of thing, that way the audience, you know, you'd be a little bit more captive and larger. So, well, thank you all. Have a good
Thank you very
evening.
much. Again,
All
thank you
right.
for coming in, appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay. Let's move on to approval of prior board minutes.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, moving on to clerk report. I guess, look at that thing.
It's very small, yes, I know. It's very small amount this month. Town clerk's report for June 2017. Planning Board for site plan review, Mondello Properties, $75. Dog licenses, $27.50. Town clerk's fees for vital statistics, marriage license, $17.50. Miscellaneous certified copies, $10. Total check for the general fund, $130. Paid to New York State Department of Health for marriage license, $22.50. Paid to New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets for dog licenses, $11. Total for June 2017, $163.50.
Should have saved that till next month. Jesus.
Next month will be better.
Move to accept?
Motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
You have anything, mail review?
I do have a few things.
Few things.
Notice of public hearing from the Town of Saugerties for July 26th at 6 p.m. And on August 10th, 2017 at 6 p.m. at their Senior Citizen Building, Main Street, Saugerties, adopting a local law, to amend the zoning, local law number 1, and this has to do with changing message signs. I have all the particulars if anybody wants to read it. Pine Plains Central School District. They did have a resignation, a vacant position on its Board of Education. So they are looking for applications. If anyone's interested, the deadline is July 14th. And I will also post this, but you can contact the district clerk at Pine Plains to get the information on that. And we did receive the Columbia County Office for the Aging Elder Express for July through September. And I have copies of these on the front table for anyone to pick up. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Mary.
Okay.
Correspondence for the web committee. Do we have any comments, questions, complaints? All right. Well, good, Evan.
Congratulations, Evan. It's going well.
All right, let's move on to committee reports. Bob?
Not a whole lot to report this time. We're still waiting for the DEC, and I'm sure you're going to cover that a little later. I want to mention that the tractor that the guys bought a used tractor, they did have to do a little bit of work on that. Looking at the vouchers, it looks like they probably spent in the neighborhood of another $1,000 on parts and things, but it still left it well below what we had budgeted for a used tractor, and they've used it, and it's working well, and I think it was a good job.
But mostly the mower parts, I believe. Mower
Yeah,
parts,
the tractor was in good shape.
Yeah.
More parts, they did have to do some work on that, some fabrication work even, and the good news is that they did it themselves. We didn't have to send it out, and they do a lot of work for us, not only on the equipment, but also on stuff that they do around the properties here and throughout the town. So,
Good.
again, kudos to the highway department.
Thank you, Bob. Evan, you have anything to add on the website? Everything's good? All right. Chris, you got anything to go over?
I do not, no.
All right. Dawn?
At last month's meeting, I mentioned that I had seen something in the Register Star about the Bank of Greene County distributing their grant funds, and that I was going to look into it, and I didn't get to it, but Ray said that he has received a phone call from the bank about coming and picking up the check, so we will contact them and do that, and that was $500 towards the softball field, so that's good. I also received via Mary a notice of a grant through the Greenway that looks like it is a pretty good fit for our what we're talking about, trails and everything on the Hetling land. It's due on September 8th, so I'm hoping that between now and then that we have some contact with the Scenic Hudson and whoever else that maybe can help us start working on a budget and things like that, that we could do that. There is matching funds with that, so we'll have to see what the budget looks like for that, and what we think we can possibly get through the Greenway, and what we would have to contribute on our own. And I would also determine whether or not we could use the money that I hope to apply for from the Iroquois Communities Grant, if we can use that as a match too, because that could be up to $10,000. That's pretty much on the grant fund front. The other piece I wanted to kind of follow up with was last month, Robin Reynolds from the Capital District Regional Planning Commission came and gave us an update, answered some questions about us moving forward, becoming a clean energy committee. And one of the requests that came out of that was to forward to us the unified solar permit application. So she sent that down to us and I distributed out to the town council, and I have not heard anything back from anybody about whether or not they think that's something we want to move forward on. The deadline for us to apply and be eligible to receive the $2,500 from the state is July 28th. If it doesn't mean that we can't move forward with that after July 28th, just that we would not be eligible for the $2,500.
I did take a quick look at it, and I wanted to, study a little more, but to me, it does look like it's just an extra step for people to take, because they still would have to go through and meet all of our zoning requirements. And the application that John has,
Right.
he'd have to have two applications, because he'd have his for everything else and that for solar, and anything that needed to be going through the zoning board would still have to go through the
Right,
zoning
right.
board. So I'm not sure if it's going to be helpful to us, other than getting $2,500, but of course, anytime you get anything from the state, it's suspect. But I would like to look at it
Okay.
some more, and we can talk
And we
about
did distribute it to the planning and zoning boards, I believe. Did we not, Mary? Did we said we forwarded it on. Did you guys get that?
No, I didn't.
We didn't?
I didn't send it.
Oh, we didn't? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so we definitely need their input.
Yes, I thought we sent it on, but obviously we'll send it on and let them take a look at it. But again, every time we get involved with grants, reimbursements with the state, I just get a very bad taste in my mouth. Not every grant, but when we have to abide by their rules and do what they want. We've run into this with Community House, we're running this with the brownfields cleanup. I'm still dodging, calls and running around with DEC. It's just amazing the amount of, hoops and the runaround you get with tied to any of these things. So they're giving you free $2,500. Well, really, I don't know. Is it really a free $2,500? Are we even going to get it? I'm not really sold on, if it's certainly not going to make it easier and streamlined, is it really worth it? And that's my point as well. So I'm not saying I'm against it, but I just have a lot of hesitation.
At first glance, it didn't look like it was going to really make anything any easier than what we have today.
And I kind of thought that
I do
myself.
want to go through it a second time in more detail.
So what we will do is forward it to the planning board. They have a meeting next week. Maybe they can weigh in on it. And then the zoning board will be too late. I think they're last Wednesday of the month.
Right.
But
But we would need to
Bob
pay.
brought it up at the zoning board. Did you at this last, or did we not?
I think it was mentioned.
Yeah, I think so.
Because we would need to have a resolution that we would forward up there before July 28th.
okay. Well,
So, the $2,500 plus, it is what it is. But if it's something that we want to, we do want to pursue longer term, there's nothing to stop us from adopting it at next month's meeting.
So for that resolution, does that have to be a resolution to adopt it, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to attach the exhibits showing what you are adopting, because there are areas where you can modify it to meet the town.
If it was a resolution to say that we're interested in this and we want the planning board feedback, then I would say we could go ahead.
Right, yeah, no.
But to adopt at this point, I didn't see anything that I particularly disagreed with, but like Bob was saying, it didn't seem to me like it was necessarily a streamlining.
Mhm.
So,
That's for, I don't know what processes are in other municipalities. We might be such that it's not a streamlined thing, it may be for somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd like to get the input from the other boards as well and find out, in fact, is it useful for them?
Okay.
And,
I think that's fair.
if it's useful for all of it, that's a good indicator to me that it is streamlining.
Correct.
So I would like to get their feedback.
okay. We'll forward that to both boards and see if they'll consider looking at that this month at their meetings and give us some feedback on it.
If they are in agreement, would we have to hold a special meeting to?
If we wanted to adopt the
Yes.
resolution for the 28th, as you said, the
Right, right.
20th? Zoning board meets when? They're on the 26th? Last Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, fourth one, yeah.
And that's assuming we get an answer back from that night immediately. At this point, I mean, it's, what's that?
It's kind of tight.
It's kind of pushing it, it really is pushing it. At this point, I think we just have to realize that it's not gonna happen for the grant. I mean, we're just asking too much of these guys. I don't think the boards are gonna answer us overnight.
Right.
Possibly they will, but they're gonna wanna review it and look at it probably.
Right.
Can't put them on the spot with that, so.
I think it's worth sharing with them, and even if we don't make this timeline,
I agree.
if it does make sense, we can use it, or even like a template
Right,
to
and
try to
modify it.
streamline our own boards, even if it doesn't match up.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is a good idea if we can do something that's, makes sense to all the boards
I
and
agree.
formatted, whatever the case may be, even if it simulates something that resembles what they're proposing, to make it easier that way.
As long as
But
it makes it easier, simpler for
Right.
everyone. That's what, I
Right.
mean, if it's any more convoluted or any more confusing, I'm not interested.
And that's what I'm saying, even if we don't get the grant,
Right.
Right.
fine, but if it makes sense to put something together that does make sense, then we should consider it.
I would just add that, and not disagreeing with anything that anyone's saying, that if we don't adopt this, then we are not eligible. We're not going to be eligible to become a clean energy community, because there's only really 4 that we have a reasonable chance of meeting the criteria. It's the benchmarking of the energy data from municipal buildings, this adoption of the unified solar permit, the energy code enforcement training that we found out really wasn't training, and participating in the Solarize campaign. Those are, of the 10 options, these are really the only 4 that we have a reasonable chance of completing.
But again, we don't have to do it by the 28th.
Correct,
That's the truth.
correct.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
all I have.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Dawn.
you.
Okay, move on to old business, just some updates. The DEC, as I kind of led to a little bit ago, I'm just getting very frustrated. I've traded phone calls with Michael Mason, which is the head of the DEC project for us for the brownfields. He left a message for me last Thursday, did not answer my questions, and what I've been trying to do is set up a last meeting to go over some of the concerns we still have, some of the issues with the roadway. They removed the silt fence around the property and didn't fill in the edges, so there's been some concerns about how are they going to finish that off, when they're going to do this.
And they also left some of the sticks in the bottom of the trenches.
So there's some housekeeping issues that we'd like to have a final meeting to go over. The clay, we did get a large load of clay delivered, so there's 50 ton of clay sitting there. My question was, is he going to get the contractor back in here to spread it? If not, are we going to do it? Just let us know, so we know what's going on, because there was a conversation that I had with the contractor that he did want to come back and spread it himself because it was part of his price that he got reimbursed for. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I have been unable to get a hold of Michael Mason to set up this meeting. We were supposed to have it last 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he just says, well, we'll have it as soon as everything's finalized. Well, I think at this point we need to sit down and go over the finalization.
Right, we don't
So-
really want to finalize it. right
Well,
now.
I don't think there is going to be a finalization at the meeting, but we have a lot of concerns that we
Right,
want
that's why I'm
addressed
saying we don't really.
before we get to the finalized
Right, exactly.
document. So, and again, one of the other big key pieces to this puzzle is we just received the final bill from the DEC on the project. And they sent us the final bill, which was $84,000 and change, which is basically $90,000 was the number they gave us,
Right,
minus the $5,000 we already committed the down payment. So it basically was a full $90,000 for the project. That did not have, when I got the bill, I looked at it and realized they did not give us any credit for the engineering fees that were spent on the whole entrance roadway, which was about $12,000. So that should be incorporated in that price, and we should only have to pay 90% or 10% of that, and they pick up the 90%. So as far as I'm concerned, there's a $10,000 credit coming, on our end as well.
right.
So, well, not $10,000, but we're gonna get most of that back because we've already paid that. So, there's a lot of questions we have to go over with them and finalize. So, I don't have an answer tonight, unfortunately. He did not get back to me. He left a message Thursday. I think he was taking Friday, Monday off as part of the long weekend.
Were they aware from the beginning that we had already spent that? on
We
the
discussed that several times in the meeting with Bob, we've had him here, and we've said, listen, we know that this should be part of the project, we were paying it, but we would expect to be reimbursed at the end or have it taken out of the total cost. So he is aware of it. He kept saying, well, we'll look at it at the end, we'll take care, Are they gonna try and get out of it? I don't know, but we're certainly not gonna let them.
It sounded to me like they were willing to try and put it in for us if they had money left from their total estimate. Okay, and I think they do. Right, it looks like it, right?
I believe so, yes.
And the problem is that the building department is different than the engineering department. So the engineering department has to tell the building department and may not have, this is one of the things you get when you're working with the state.
Right.
Okay? The other thing that, the clay, I don't think we have enough clay at this point to spread over there, and particularly because the side that's not spread yet with any, it looks to me, from my eye, I did not put a level on it or a transit, but it looks like it's lower, and so there should be some buildup in there to bring it up so you get a uniform amount of clay over the whole area and then have a level ball field. So whether they're ready to do that when they come to just spread, or they're just gonna come and spread what we have and then leave it?
Yeah, see, that,
And so
questions.
those kinds of questions
Right.
that we have with them, and until we get a meeting, we don't, we may not get the answers we want at the meeting, but we don't get any answer without a meeting.
Right.
Right, and if we are short on clay, we've had a really, really hard time getting that clay delivered. We've been working on it for 2 months now to get this guy to deliver the clay. He just finally brought the load. So, I'm gonna be kind of reluctant to order more clay at this point because, when are we gonna get it?
Right.
So,
And we
that's a
don't
different
want the
situation.
1 AM deliveries either.
Right. So we have, like I said, a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of odds and ends to button up. We really don't have any answers to give anybody at this point, but we certainly are going to get the answers and relay them as soon as we know. So I guess that's all I can say at this point.
Is the pooling of water on the roadway, has that been satisfactorily
better.
resolved?
It's a little better.
It's better.
It's a little better, but, they did 2 things to try to remediate that. One of them, I think, made it worse.
One thing that would be good for
First one
us,
where they made that pond, and that's
for
still
Greenway
there.
grant, is if we can link to I think they call them Empire Trails, that actually, it does run through Clermont. I wasn't able to look at the map, it was kind of small, but there is an Empire Trail that I think links somewhere over near the State Historic Site. So I'm not, I don't know if we could do something on like County Route 8 or County Route 6 or something like that, but that would help us in our argument for that Greenway grant.
There was talk years ago when we had the Behan thing here.
All the way to the state park, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the problem was going across a lot of private property.
Right,
and
right.
that it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be very
Right,
difficult
right.
to do to get that hooked up. I still have the idea in my head that we can have some kind of an interpretive nature trail on the walking trail.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, that'd be-
little gardens here and there, and maybe get some landscape organizations that would come in and, one would do this little garden and the other one would do another little garden, so that as you're walking by, you see different things, and they can have a sign there that says donated by.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how successful we'd be with that, but.
Incorporate that into a trail, is that? That's right.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right.
Yep. Okay, well, again, I'll have an answer hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have a meeting, and we'll have an answer for next meeting on where we stand with that. Moving on to new business, building inspector, code enforcement officer. Currently, John Feaser is our building inspector and code enforcement officer. He will be resigning by, I believe, September from his position, so we are going to be advertising and looking for a new building inspector and code enforcement officer. I'm going to work with Mary to put together an ad to put in the paper, so we can put that out, ask for responses, whoever's interested, and we'll set up some interviews once we see how many people respond and how many people are interested. We do have a 3 people that have expressed interest already that we will solicit directly, and then, like I said, we'll put the ad out for anybody else that may answer that, and then we can interview as needed. We'll have to set up, once we figure out how many responses we have, we'll set up a time and set up some interviews next month here. I'll let everybody know, but I want to thank him very much. He's been with us for quite a while, 20 years, or better, I believe, has been doing a good job for us and keeping us going, so be sad to have him go, but we wish him well. So I'll work with you, Mary, to set that up, and we'll get that out in the paper. Supervisor report, I don't really have a lot to go over on that. Everything's been quiet. Had no issues really in the town to speak of. Bob covered the highway department, taking care of everything. Appreciate that, and the mower and the tractor they got back and up and running. So we're in good shape. If anybody has any questions on town and county issues, please come see me. I'd be glad to talk to you about it. Get you an answer if I can't provide one. But other than that, we'll move on to motion to pay abstracts.
Make a motion that we pay trust and agency, number 6, claim number 16, for the amount of $1,124.76.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move we pay highway abstract number 7, vouchers 67 through 69, in a total of $11,246.46.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
It's going to be a little different this time because we agreed last month that we would prepay our National Grid thing, so we didn't keep getting the late payments, charges. And so we've actually got 2 abstracts so we've got abstract number 7 and abstract number 7A. So I've got abstract number 7 here, which is vouchers number 178 through 180 in the amount of $174.19.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have general abstract number 7A, vouchers number 181 through 204 in the amount of $9,207.31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And again, just for any of the public that's confused with this now, abstract, the first one with 3 vouchers has been paid. Okay, the checks were cut and sent, but we still have to approve the payment, but the state law does give us the ability to prepay utility bills and then approve them, but they still have to be approved. So that's done.
And this all comes from the headache that Mary has went through for how many months and years fighting with National Grid to refund us the late charges that they charge us because they get the payment a couple, 3 days later after, because when our meeting goes through, we get the checks out sent to them. They charge us late fee, which they shouldn't be doing, so they actually go back and credit it, but half the time she has to fight with them. They don't want to do it. It takes months to do it. So this is how we're going to get around that. So from now on, we'll be doing this probably every month, so we can alleviate those late fees and your headaches.
And I don't understand why they can't just put something on there
Change the billing
that
date.
just stops it. But I don't think they want to.
So this is our way of fixing that, so. All right.
Now we're getting them emailed. I'm getting them emailed, so hopefully I will get them
Immediately.
quickly, as quicker than I would in the mail, and I can send them out right away.
Okay.
And if that doesn't fix it, there's still another way that we can set up an account where they can automatically withdraw it, and then you get a bill that says do not pay this bill. We would still have to approve it.
That would be the very last resort, because I really would rather not do that.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
But we do have the availability and the ability to do that if we need to, but I just don't like it, so. Okay, public communications, comments to the board. Sarah, if you don't mind stepping up for us, thank you.
I'm Sarah Tackers. Just a quick question about the screening of the field, since it's part of your probably greenway and path, scenic Hudson and stuff like that. So any news on how
Yeah,
we're going to
when I
proceed?
did check with the Iroquois community grants, they did say that we could work that into that. And I think I would think that one of the advantages of working with a group like Scenic Hudson is they could help us with wording that would kind of put it in there. But that was definitely something that would be covered by that grant.
Okay. So,
we'll certainly
yeah.
be following up with that conversation with
Right.
them when we look at everything to try
Yeah.
and work that in as
Yeah,
well.
we appreciate it, so thank you.
Okay, welcome. Any other questions, comments, screaming complaints? Nothing? No? Well, we're doing all right then. Okay, before we adjourn, we do have to go into an executive session to discuss potential litigation. So we will not be conducting any business afterwards, so we'll just be executive session and adjourning the meeting. So I'd just like to have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Litigation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Everything, so.
One thing that would be good for us for the Greenway grant is if we can link to I think they call them Empire Trails, that actually it does run through Clermont. I wasn't able to look at the map. It was kind of small, but there is an Empire Trail that I think links somewhere over near the State Historic Site. So I'm not, I don't know if we could do something on like County Route 8 or County Route 6 or something like that, but that would help us in our argument for that Greenway grant.
There was talk years ago when we had the Behan thing here.
All the way to the state park, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the problem was going across a lot of private property.
Right,
and
right.
that it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be very
Right,
difficult
right.
to do to get that hooked up. I still have the idea in my head that we can have some kind of an interpretive nature trail on the walking trail.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
you know, little gardens here and there, and maybe get some landscape organizations that would come in and, one would do this little garden and the other one would do another little garden, so that as you're walking by, you see different things, and they can have a sign there that says donated by.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how successful we'd be with that, but.
Incorporate that into a trail, is that, that's right?
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right.
Okay, well, again, I'll have an answer hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have a meeting, and we'll have an answer for next meeting on where we stand with that. Moving on to new business, building inspector, code enforcement officer. Currently, John Feaser is our building inspector and code enforcement officer. He will be resigning by, I believe, September from his position, so we are going to be advertising and looking for a new building inspector and code enforcement officer. I'm going to work with Mary to put together an ad to put in the paper, so we can put that out, ask for responses, whoever's interested, and we'll set up some interviews once we see how many people respond and how many people are interested. We do have three people that have expressed interest already that we will solicit directly, and then, like I said, we'll put the ad out for anybody else that may answer that, and then we can interview as needed. We'll have to set up, once we figure out how many responses we have, we'll set up a time and set up some interviews next month here. I'll let everybody know, but I want to thank him very much. He's been with us for quite a while, 20 years, or better, I believe. Has been doing a good job for us and keeping us going. So be sad to have him go, but we wish him well. So I'll work with you, Mary, to set that up, and we'll get that out in the paper. Supervisor report. I don't really have a lot to go over on that. Everything's been quiet. Had no issues really in the town to speak of. Bob covered the highway department, taking care of everything. Appreciate that, and the mower and the tractor they got back and up and running. So we're in good shape. If anybody has any questions on town and county issues, please come see me. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Get you an answer if I can't provide one. But other than that, we'll move on to motion to pay abstracts.
Make a motion that we pay trust and agency, number 6, claim number 16, for the amount of $1,124.76.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move we pay highway abstract number 7, vouchers 67 through 69, in a total of $11,246.46.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
It's going to be a little different this time because we agreed last month that we would prepay our National Grid thing, so we didn't keep getting the late payments, charges. And so we've actually got 2 abstracts for So we got abstract number 7 and abstract number 7A. So I've got abstract number 7 here, which is vouchers number 178 through 180 in the amount of $174.19.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have general abstract number 7A, vouchers number 181 through 204 in the amount of $9,207.31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And again, just for any of the public that's confused with this now, abstract, the first one with 3 vouchers has been paid. Okay, the checks were cut and sent, but we still have to approve the payment, but the state law does give us the ability to prepay utility bills and then approve them, but they still have to be approved. So that's done.
And this all comes from the headache, the headache that Mary's went through for how many months and years fighting with National Grid to refund us the late charges that they charge us because they get the payment a couple, 3 days later after, because when our meeting goes through, we get the checks out sent to them. They charge us late fee, which they shouldn't be doing, so they go back and credit it, but half the time she has to fight with them. They don't want to do it. It takes months to do it. So this is how we're going to get around that. So from now on, we'll be doing this probably every month, so we can alleviate those late fees and your headaches.
And I don't understand why they can't just put something on there
Change the billing
that
date.
just stops it. But I don't think they want to.
So, this is our way of fixing that, so. All right.
Now we're getting them emailed. I'm getting them emailed, so hopefully I will get them
Immediately.
quickly, as quicker than I would in the mail, and I can send them out right away.
Okay.
And if that doesn't fix it, there's still another way that we can set up an account where they can automatically withdraw it, and then you get a bill that says do not pay this bill. We would still have to approve it.
That would be the very last resort, because I really would rather not do that.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
But we do have the availability and the ability to do that if we need to, but I just don't like it, so. Okay, public communications, comments to the board. Sarah, if you don't mind stepping up for us, thank you.
I'm Sarah Tackers. Just a quick question about the screening of the field, since it's part of your probably greenway and path, scenic Hudson and stuff like that. So any news on how
Yeah,
we're going to
when I
proceed?
did check with the Iroquois community grants, they did say that we could work that into that. And I think, I would think that one of the advantages of working with a group like Scenic Hudson is they could help us with wording that would kind of put it in there. But that was definitely something that would be covered by that grant.
Okay.
We'll certainly be following up with that conversation with
Right.
them when we look at everything to try
Yeah.
to work that in as
Yeah,
well.
we appreciate it, so thank you.
Okay, welcome. Any other questions, comments, screaming complaints? Nothing? No? Well, we're doing all right then. Okay, before we adjourn, we do have to go into an executive session to discuss potential litigation. So we will not be conducting any business afterwards, so we'll just be executive session and adjourning the meeting. So I'd just like to have a motion to go into executive session. Litigation.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Everything, so.
One thing that would be good for us for the Greenway grant is if we can link to I think they call them Empire Trails, that actually it does run through Clermont. I wasn't able to look at the map. It was kind of small, but there is an Empire Trail that I think links somewhere over near the State Historic Site. So I'm not, I don't know if we could do something on like County Route 8 or County Route 6 or something like that, but that would help us in our argument for that Greenway grant.
There was talk years ago when we had the Behan thing here.
All the way to the state park, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the problem was going across a lot of private property.
Right,
and
right.
that it wouldn't be impossible, but it would be very
Right,
difficult
right.
to do to get that hooked up. I still have the idea in my head that we can have some kind of an interpretive nature trail on the walking trail.
Mm-hmm.
And
that could be-
little gardens here and there, and maybe get some landscape organizations that would come in and, one would do this little garden and the other one would do another little garden so that as you're walking by, you see different things, and they can have a sign there that says donated by. I'm not sure how successful we'd be with that, but.
Incorporate that into a trail, is that, that's right?
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
right.
Okay, well, again, I'll have an answer hopefully by the end of this week, I'll have a meeting, and we'll have an answer for next meeting on where we stand with that. Moving on to new business, building inspector, code enforcement officer. Currently, John Feaser is our building inspector and code enforcement officer. He will be resigning by, I believe, September from his position, so we are going to be advertising and looking for a new building inspector and code enforcement officer. I'm going to work with Mary to put together an ad to put in the paper, so we can put that out, ask for responses, whoever's interested, and we'll set up some interviews once we see how many people respond and how many people are interested. We do have three people that have expressed interest already that we will solicit directly, and then, like I said, we'll put the ad out for anybody else that may answer that, and then we can interview as needed. We'll have to set up, once we figure out how many responses we have, we'll set up a time and set up some interviews next month here. I'll let everybody know, but I want to thank him very much. He's been with us for quite a while, 20 years, or better, I believe. Has been doing a good job for us and keeping us going. So be sad to have him go, but we wish him well. So I'll work with you, Mary, to set that up, and we'll get that out in the paper. Supervisor report. I don't really have a lot to go over on that. Everything's been quiet. Had no issues really in the town to speak of. Bob covered the highway department, taking care of everything. Appreciate that, and the mower and the tractor they got back and up and running. So we're in good shape. If anybody has any questions on town and county issues, please come see me. I'll be glad to talk to you about it. I'll get you an answer if I can't provide one. But other than that, we'll move on to motion to pay abstracts.
Make a motion that we pay trust and agency, number 6, claim number 16, for the amount of $1,124.76.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I move we pay highway abstract number 7, vouchers 67 through 69, in a total of $11,246.46.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
It's going to be a little different this time because we agreed last month that we would prepay our National Grid thing, so we didn't keep getting the late payments, charges. And so we've actually got 2 abstracts so we've got abstract number 7 and abstract number 7A. So I've got abstract number 7 here, which is vouchers number 178 through 180 in the amount of $174.19.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have general abstract number 7A, vouchers number 181 through 204 in the amount of $9,207.31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And again, just for any of the public that's confused with this now, abstract, the first one with 3 vouchers has been paid. Okay, the checks were cut and sent, but we still have to approve the payment, but the state law does give us the ability to prepay utility bills and then approve them, but they still have to be approved. So that's done.
And this all comes from the headache that Mary has went through for how many months and years fighting with National Grid to refund us the late charges that they charge us, because they get the payment a couple, 3 days later after, because when our meeting goes through, we get the checks out sent to them. They charge us late fee, which they shouldn't be doing, so they go back and credit it, but half the time she has to fight with them. They don't want to do it. It takes months to do it. So this is how we're going to get around that. So from now on, we'll be doing this probably every month, so we can alleviate those late fees and your headaches.
And I don't understand why they can't just put something on there
Change the billing
that
date.
just stops it. But I don't think they want to.
So, this is our way of fixing that, so. All right.
Now we're getting them emailed. I'm getting them emailed, so hopefully I will get them
Immediately.
quickly, you know, as quicker than I would in the mail, and I can send them out right away.
Okay.
And if that doesn't fix it, there's still another way that we can set up an account where they can automatically withdraw it, and then you get a bill that says do not pay this bill. We would still have to approve it. You know,
That would be the very last resort, because I really would rather not do that.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
But we do have the availability and the ability to do that if we need to, but I just don't like it, so. Okay, public communications, comments to the board. Sarah, if you don't mind stepping up for us, thank you.
I'm Sarah Tackers. Just a quick question about the screening of the field, since it's part of your probably greenway and path, scenic Hudson and stuff like that. So any news on how
Yeah,
we're going to
when I
proceed?
did check with the Iroquois community grants, they did say that we could work that into that. And I think, I would think that one of the advantages of working with a group like Scenic Hudson is they could help us with wording that would kind of put it in there. But that was definitely something that would be covered by that grant.
Okay.
We'll
So,
certainly
yeah.
be following up with that conversation with
Right.
them when we look at everything to try to
Yeah.
work that in as
Yeah,
well.
we appreciate it, so thank you.
Okay, welcome. Any other questions, comments, screaming complaints?